Yeah, no, it's exciting to be here. So much colour.
It looks stunning, so thank you so much for this. This is a fantastic body of work, and we know you now. We've been working together 18 months, sort of like 2 years now, and you've been creating some fantastic pieces. And you're a portrait artist really by trade, but there's snippets of you and snippets of stories. Tell us about what this is.
Well, I love faces, obviously, and I feel like you can tell a lot about people from their expressions, but also, I just love the simplicity of when I remember like Marilyn saying to me in the 80s that I had a good face for makeup, which is great. There's a lot of space on my face to paint, and I feel like what I do is I take these very simple ideas and then I kind of dress them up so they're getting ready to go out to a nightclub. Obviously, a lot of my life has been spent in nightclubs. Mentioned, back to basics, and just I've spent my life in clubs. It's like also the place where I kind of met my alternative family. It's like you have your own family, then you have your disco family. So a lot of these people are people that I know, or based on people that I know. Sometimes I obviously draw famous people, but I always give it my own take. How I see people is really what I'm painting, not necessarily like trying to do some like exact, picture of what they look like, but just trying to capture the essence of that person and their swagger and, their point of view, from my point of view.
Like Warhol behind you, mate?
Like Andy Warhol who called me fat, which I put in there. Actually, somebody just told me I was too thin, so it's so great to have this, paint. I didn't see that it was behind me, but yeah. So when I got Andy Warhol's diaries, he was like, I went to see Boy George at Madison Square Garden and he's really fat. And I was like, oh, bitch. It's horrible about Keith Haring, it's horrible about everyone, but it's kind of like a badge of honour to get slagged off by Andy Warhol, so I was quite flattered. Hence the painting, just sort of like, that's why I put it on the painting, because I feel like I'm so skinny now.
But isn't that from treading the boards though? Because I was looking to come over and see you in New York. Some of these pieces were created in New York. Wherever you are, you create artwork.
Wherever I am, there's art and there's beads all over the floor and back of the sofas, and it's hilarious that I just leave my my message behind wherever I go.
So we were looking to get to know him, but it's because you were there. You were doing Moulin Rouge, right? Which was stunning. Yeah. It was so good. And since then, you've been doing so much more. Album?
Well, I don't really stop. Music and art for me are kind of connected. So like sometimes I'll do a painting and I'll think, I should write a song called that. Or sometimes I'll have a song and think, I should make a painting that's of the song. So yeah, the two things are quite connected. And I also think like creativity is quite lyrical. Like it's art is a doing thing. It's a bit like all spirituality. You can't say you're spiritual, you have to be spiritual, and making art is about physically making it, and whether people like it or not is besides the point. You don't do it for that reason, you do it because you enjoy doing it. And for me, it's really helped me to become much more zen, which sounds crazy, because when I first started making art and I was beading it, I used to swear in it all the time, the needles would break, and I would just get frustrated, and now I'm totally like, I try to put that into the work, just that kind of pleasure that I get from it. When I'm not on stage, I get up at 7 in the morning, go to my studio and work all day, sometimes till 10 at night. I try to kind of like take myself out of the matrix way of living, because obviously I don't have kids, I don't have a proper job, I can work whenever I feel like it. So it's kind of nice to kind of just, if I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I just stay there and just focus on that and, kind of just have so much fun with it.
Yeah, and you do, I know you do, because it takes it all sort of time tonight, but you just mentioned the mix of creativity, and with the new prints we've done of the PunkyDoodleDandies, we've seen sort of the mix of words and poetry and lyrics, paired with an image. How important is that to you?
Well, actually, I think the sort of climate at the moment has kind of become quite encouraging to me as a kind of creative person, because I think like when things go a bit right wing, it makes you more creative because you feel like you've got something to not necessarily argue with, but certainly, gives you a mirror to look into, and you can reflect different things. And so for me, it just feels like colour is, when I'm out on the street, if I see someone dressed up, it always makes me smile, but you see other people looking really horrified. If you're at the bus stop, I do get on the bus, and sometimes you see amazing people walking past and people get so disturbed by it. But what's interesting, I think, about life is that if you put a painting on the wall, people deal with it. They're like, oh yeah. You see it in real life, they're like, why are they doing that? So it's kind of like this mad contradiction. And having sort of just been, Halloween, everyone dresses up, right? Some people do it all the time. For some people, Halloween's every day, It's as simple as that. You don't need any more explanation than that. But I suppose in a way, as a creative person, a degree of hostility can be quite useful, because you've got something to kind of reflect or feel strongly about. But in the end, I don't really focus on that. I just focus on celebrating the people that I love, creativity. If I see someone that looks amazing, I'm like, oh, look amazing. Sometimes they're horrible. They're like, you got someone, you go, you look great, they go, I know. I probably did that when I was 17, you know what I mean? So I feel like my work is, a celebration of otherness, but we're all other. Yeah. So you're involved as well, whether you like it or not, you know what I mean? I think we're all a reflection of the world and how we feel about it, and that is what I try to put into my work, humour, I want to make people laugh, so if that works, that's good. And I want to make people feel emotional as well and think about things,
So, for those who don't know...
That was a really long answer, sorry.
I'm used to it, don't worry. For those who don't know, who are sort of seeing George's work for the first time, so could you explain where it sort of started for you? I know creatives, it starts everywhere and all at once, but, where?
The truth is, at school, my art classes were my favourite classes, because it was the only time where I wasn't criticised, I was encouraged to do what I wanted to do. I spent most of my time drawing pictures of Bowie, so I was always still not to do that, but I got quite good at it. And, and then started painting myself. That was the next step. I was like, oh, well, I'll just do it to myself. And then my clothes and my hats, and it just became an extension of what I was doing at school, really, and kind of what I was seeing, in pop music, David Bowie, Mark Bolan, all the people that I loved as a kid, all those kind of, Elvis, just all those kind of iconic people that have a kind of look, they have kind of musical integrity, but they also have a bit of a style, which I think is essential when you're entertaining people. You've got to look good, sound good, and be nice. I feel like that's part of it.
I was asked earlier...
You asked me why I do it, I don't know why.
I'm used to that.
Like a politician, I don't answer the question, I just take it where I want it to go.
But somebody did ask earlier, you were on BBC Breakfast, and you were sort of talking about it, and somebody brought up Madonna, and somebody asked if you would sort of regale the Madonna story today.
Well, I met Madonna for the first time with Marilyn. This is a funny story, we were going to see Madonna at Radio City Musical. Right at the beginning, it was like the Virgin tour. And we had 4 tickets, and we were in this restaurant, and we saw these 2 hot guys, and we're like, they were their girlfriends. And we were like, do you want to come see Madonna? And the 2 guys left their girlfriends and came with us to see Madonna. It was fucking hilarious. And that's the power of the celebrity and Madonna as well. And we went backstage afterwards, and I used to carry a little camera with me everywhere. And I was like, oh, can my friend take a picture of you? And she grabbed one of the boys and put him on her lap. It was very kind of dominant. I loved it. It was very sexy. I took this photo of her, and I knew she didn't want me to take a photograph, but because I was Boy George, you couldn't really say no. She goes, okay, it's okay. And I just find her fascinating. She's kind of one of my contemporaries. She's someone that if she's on telly, I want to know what she's got to say. I'm not necessarily agree with everything she says. I'm not necessarily a fan of her as a person, but her work I love. And what she's created is magnificent. I mean, Madonna is just such an iconic pop star, so you can't really take that away from her. And I think, when you're a painter, you just want to paint people that have got a bit of an attitude. And Madonna definitely has an attitude. But also painting her now, you know, because I'm someone that gets referred to all the time in past context. You know, you're from this, you're from that, you're from the 80s. The 80s doesn't exist anymore. I'm from now. And I don't want to sound defensive, but I feel like, you know, as a fellow artist, I thought I want to paint her like older, not necessarily paint her in the iconic, obvious way that people do with the comb bra and all of that. Because she's still functioning and she's still outrageous and she's still getting our attention, and we're talking about her in Leeds. You know what I mean? I've sold a lot of Madonna paintings, so I don't mind talking about her.
Thank you. But talking about like the sort of portraiture and the snapshots that you take, and you think about how you portray people. The piece just behind is of you, you know, at an earlier stage. How do you see it when you see?
When I was young and pretty.
Older you know.
Well, I feel like, you know, my whole life has been about, I think art is identity. You know, identity is a form of art. How you paint yourself and create yourself is essential, particularly when you're someone that's, you know, in the public eye. People talk about, you know, reinvention, but that's just, you know, putting on a new hat could be a reinvention. People overstate the idea of reinvention. It's just experimenting with what's available, you know, working with interesting things. So, young Boy George to me is like a cartoon character, because I'm nothing like him. I was nothing like him at the time. People talked about me and I was like, what are you talking about? So it's funny, but now I have distance from him. I think it's so weird to talk about myself in third person, but I do think of the early Boy George as a kind of cartoon.
I think. Oh,
don't feel bad. I love early Boy George. I feel like what he got away with was, I feel more empathy for him now than I did at the time. At the time, I was just like, you know, on autopilot. But looking back now, I feel like, you know, I just had an album that went to #1 in Chile. And I remember when I went there in the 80s thinking, why is everyone screaming? It's so weird. I didn't realise that I was bringing this hope and excitement with me. And now I do. Now I realise. So it's different, you know. So I can look back at him with, you know, it's me, but not me, but.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And you know what? You guys are so engaged. Sometimes it's hard to get the answers out, you know, because we want to get so much together. But if you don't mind, there's maybe a couple of questions that you have that's specific.
Just don't ask me how many hats I've got.
Congratulations on your diversity award. You got the Lifetime Achievement Award, didn't you?
I remember thinking, I'm just getting started. Lifetime Achievement Award. I was thought at the time, you know, I was like, Lifetime Achievement, Jesus Christ, I'm just getting on with it. But yeah, it was nice, it was lovely. It was very sweet, very sweet.
You mentioned the young Boy George.
Do you want me to ask it?
Yeah.
Right, I don't want to interrupt. Go on. Go, sorry.
Sorry.
You first.
So, be it from a painting or a song or whatever, where do you get your ideas from, and then how do you take that idea to the finished product?
From the universe. You know, the thing about ideas is, as I got older, I realized, when I was younger, I thought you had to sit in a room and wait for divine intervention, but of course ideas exist all the time. When you're writing a song, words, every word that you can use exists unless you make one up. So the idea of writer's block or creative block is a myth. It's a myth that we've kind of told ourselves about how we have to do things. Once you realise that everything exists, everything, then you're kind of dipping into a pantry that's so full of amazing ideas. You go in there and you take a bit of Nina Simone, a bit of Bowie, a bit of Kylie, whatever you want, anything that suits that moment. I think that same principle works with art. You know, there's different types of art. There's art that's about skill, where it's exact, and somebody, I saw a painting of this, someone spent 6 years on it. I was like, I'd lose my mind. But it's amazing. I don't know, I feel like as I've got older, I just appreciate things in a way that I couldn't when I was younger. So I don't go out to judge things anymore. I don't walk around being bored, or, you know, I just think everything's kind of great. I just feel like, I think about what I would do rather than criticising what someone else would do. I think to myself, what would I do? Oh, that's interesting. So I've definitely changed the way I think about everything, but I also know that how you end up with an idea is just by taking it from the universe, but then what you do with it as an individual is what makes it unique to you. And if you're being too obvious, everyone can see it. If something's exactly like Bowie, because I'm always like, what would Bowie do? If I'm working on a garage track or something, I think, what would Bowie do if he was doing this? Not what would somebody who works in garage do, but somebody that was a bit outside of it. So I'm always looking for, other ways of doing things, and, juxtaposition, I love that word. It's a great word, isn't it? So anchor.
Very arty word, but great questions, and I think that brings on to, you were saying dipping into different things, and here we see a lot of different mediums. You work, you sew, you bead, that isn't mainstream, so where did that come from?
Every time you do something, like I'll do some stuff on cardboard, it's controversial, but it's recyclable, so we're saving the planet at the same time. But I remember when I first started using cardboard, I went to a gallery near my house and I was like, I saw a cardboard piece that had been screen printed, and I was like, see, the minute you think about it, it's the universe has already provided it. So I feel like that wouldn't stop me from doing it though. That would make me more, I feel like egged on by things rather than like, oh, I shouldn't do that. So I feel like, the process is always the fun bit, like just coming up with ridiculous things and screaming. I do a lot of screaming. That really works, So I don't know, I think there's a simplicity to everything that I think I've discovered as I've got older. Simplicity is so beautiful, particularly in thinking. When you suddenly realise, I don't have to think like that, I don't have to feel like that, and there's other ways, there's so many ways of feeling that we don't even explore. And I think that's what making art's done for me. It's made me really expand my thinking.
You should go into doing sculptures.
Thought about it. I have one in my studio that I did. That's kind of cute. I did a sculpture of Scarman, but I just wasn't sure. It's like, when you do things, sometimes you do a piece of work and it stays in the studio for like years, and you go like, and then suddenly you get into it. Yeah. So it's a bit like music as well. You go back. So yeah, it is possible that I will do some.
Yeah.
Out of wire hangers, I feel like. Wire hanger sculpture is very like mummy dearest.
Won't let me have it, so yeah.
T-shirt range. I would love T-shirts for them.
Get Galty on the phone. Or get
Did you make your jacket?
I didn't physically make it, but
Did you design it?
It was my idea, yeah.
It's fabulous. I love it.
Kind of incorporates all the things I love in one space. Spirituality, humour, colour. Kind of wearing that art.
Brilliant.
Fantastic, thanks guys. I'm going to bring George round. I think, first of all, a massive round of applause. Thank you so much. This collection work is absolutely stunning. So we're going to hang around here. We're going to see a few people. So if you want to meet George, get your name on the list, and then we can do photos and stuff. But thank you so much for coming.